Here we go. From the Silver Creek Studios, I'm Jared, and this is the BFIBs Almanac. What a difference an episode makes. On the last one, the Cardinals had just dropped below 500 with a 26-27 record, and went on to lose their next game before starting the 4-game win streak that they just wrapped up, including a sweep of the Cubs tonight. On Thursday, they had a 5-3 win. Friday was the 2-1 walk-off with a Carpenter bloop single down the line. Saturday was the 7-4 win, and then today, Sunday, was the 2-1 win over the Cubs, Adam Wainwright's start. So, a lot of numbers to get into. Let's dig right in. All right, like we said, they just finished a sweep of the Cubs at home and now have a 30-28 record. That still puts them in third place, but they are only 3 games back of Milwaukee, who is now in first. Milwaukee jumped over the Cubs this weekend. The Cubs have been reeling. If as bad as the Cardinals have been playing, the Cubs have been right there with them over the last 9 or 10 games. Milwaukee is in first with a 34-26 record. The Cubs are in second with a 31-26 record. They're a game and a half back. The Cardinals are 30-28, 3 games back. Pittsburgh is 28-30, 5 games back, and the Reds are still in the bottom of the division, 27-32, 6.5 back. So the Reds kind of cooled off too. They were beating everybody, it seemed like, and they were moving their way up. And now they have kind of petered out a little bit too. So it's not too big of a change. It's really just Pittsburgh dropped a couple back of St. Louis, and the Brewers and Cubs flip-flopped a little bit. But we're staying in there, hanging with them, and it's because of this 4-game win streak. Now, today, Sunday, Wainwright got the start and actually had a no-hitter going into the 6th inning. He ended up going 8 innings pitched, 126 pitches thrown, 2 hits, no earned runs, 7 walks, and 8 strikeouts. Now, he got a lot of praise after the game for, this vintage Wainwright outing and, nearly a no-hitter, and look how many pitches he threw, and Schilt stuck with him, and blah, 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 blah. And he did have a good outing, but it wasn't as good as the numbers may indicate. He actually kind of was sloppy. Like we said, he had 7 walks to 8 strikeouts and was getting hit hard a few times. He did have 3 double plays behind him, but 2 of the 3 were not what you think of as, quote, getting a double play ball, which was like kind of getting a ground ball hit right to one of your infielders who flips it over for a double play. Job well done by the pitcher, right? These were hard-hit line drives, one to Wong and one to DeYoung, that they had to catch and fire over to first to double off the runner. Great play by the defense, but these were well-struck baseballs that easily could have gone for at least a single, if not extra bases and RBIs. So, pitching into, or with trouble on the bases there, had to pitch out of trouble. And, if you just looked at his pitching line, you might not realize that. And he actually had another defensive play. Colton Wong snagged I guess it's not a line drive, not a bloop either, just sort of a softly hit, pulled ball by Rizzo into right field that he caught to end the inning. Definitely would have knocked in a tying run. And that was in the 8th inning that Wainwright was pitching, and that was after a lot of discussion about whether or not he should still be in the game by the commentators, by the fans, by social media. So it was definitely a risk to leave Waino in that long, and he kind of got into some trouble in that inning and only got out of it with his defense. So, all's well that ends well, but it wasn't the cleanest outing by Wainwright. So just want to point that out. Good for him to get the win. Only, like we said, 2 hits, no earned runs, so it's hard to complain exactly, but there was some danger there that I could see that game going a different way. So, I wanted to look at Matt Carpenter's stats a little bit. So as you know, he was dropped out of the leadoff position after the Royals 2-game series at home and before the the Braves home series here. He was dropped down to 5th or 6th. I think he jumped back and forth a little bit there before being brought back to the leadoff position for the last couple games. So in that time, since he was dropped before that Atlanta series, he has now gone 10 for 29, 344 average, 406 on base percentage, 551 slugging for a 957 OPS. He's hit 2 home runs in that time, 6 RBI, including the walk-off the other night, and also including a pinch hit RBI today to give the Cardinals an extra cushion, which it turned out they needed. He's had 3 walks, but 10 strikeouts. So overall, really good offensive numbers there. You'd like to see those strikeouts cut down and the walks go up, but hey, we'll take it. So it seems like that change was a little kick in the pants for him and kind of got him going, and he was moved back to leadoff. Now, I don't think he was moved back to leadoff necessarily because of these numbers, though you could make that argument. He was moved back to leadoff because the guys that batted leadoff in place of him, Dexter Fowler and Colton Wong, were a combined 0 for 23 with no walks. So they basically not only didn't get it done, they didn't get it done at all. They filled in at leadoff, and we put a big donut on the board. No hits, no walks, no nothing from those guys. So that was frustrating. I guess you could say Dexter Fowler did get hit by a pitch, I think 3 times in that span. So, I mean, he was getting on base in that sense, but you don't really credit him for getting hit by those pitches. So disappointing that those guys had an opportunity and couldn't really take advantage of it. And they had been hitting well before that, so I understand why Schilt moved Fowler first into leadoff, and I think he went 0 for 3 games, and then he put Wong there, and he went 0 for at least 2 games. So I get it. I know why he put him there, but it just didn't work. And that's a small sample size, and if they stayed there, maybe it would be, fine. But at this point, with Carp getting going again, it was good to get him back in the leadoff. Now, he had the day off today before his pinch hit late in the game, and Harrison Bader led off, and he was also 0 for 4 with no walks and a strikeout. So, again, small sample size, but these guys who've been given an opportunity to hit leadoff have not taken advantage of it for sure. So that's a little disappointing, but some of the offense has picked it up a little bit. One of the names that has picked it up is Paul Goldschmidt. So we talked about, he was really struggling and not really looking like himself, but he tends to always pick it up in June. So here we are in June, and I wanted to take a look. So since that Kansas City series, so including the Kansas City series, he has hit .365 with a .414 on-base percentage, .512 slugging for a .926 OPS, 2 home runs, only 3 RBI, but that's a product of the guys in front of him. We just talked about all these offers that were getting put up, and he got put into the second spot, or no, he got dropped to the 3rd spot to put DeYoung in front of him, which I think also makes sense, except DeYoung has struggled too, which we're about to get into. But so his RBI totals aren't really what you'd like to see, but he just didn't have guys getting on base in front of him. 2 walks to 9 strikeouts. So again, you like to see those strikeouts cut down and those walks increase. I think we're just going to see a lot of strikeouts from Goldschmidt, even when he is putting up good numbers. So good to see him kind of get going in these last 11 games and kind of doing his part. So, you'd like to see the power numbers increase a little more, but I think they will. As these guys get going in June, I think we're going to see a marked improvement in Goldschmidt. Now, like we said, Paul DeYoung has been struggling. In that same time span, since that Kansas City home series, he is 2 for 36 with no RBIs, 10 strikeouts to 5 walks. So he has really been struggling. He did get a hit. I want to say he had a hit today. Before that, he was 1 for his last 33. So now he's 2 for 36. So, I do think he's going to turn it around. He was our best offensive player for the first, month and a half of the season. I don't think that was a fluke. I think that's the player that he is. I think this cold streak that he's in here is going to snap, and he will come out of it and look pretty good. Now, will he look like he did in the first month and a half? I don't know, but he's going to get a lot better than he has been. So hopefully we can get, Carp's looking a little better, Goldschmidt's looking a little better. If we can get DeYoung looking better, And Ozuna keep doing what he's doing. I think he's got, I want to say 50 RBIs now, which is just crazy. Who would have thought after what we saw last year that he would already have 50 RBIs? So very impressive. So that's about all I've got. I didn't want to get too deep into the stats or anything this time. I just wanted to look at some of the guys that have been struggling and how they've improved, and some of the guys that were really on fire and how they've kind of fallen off. Which, that's baseball. You're going to see some of that. But it was very good to see the Cardinals kind of come out of this tailspin. Now, they did not win a series in the month of May, so that was disappointing. I forget how far back you have to go for them to have not won a series in a month. But they also had another stat they talked about on the broadcast. They had not won back-to-back games in the month. And that was going to be the first time in, if they hadn't won back-to-back games in the month, it would have been the first time since like 1903 that they had not won back-to-back games in a month. So it's just this crazy amount of time. And they did it on the last day of the season, of the month. They won on the 30th against the Phillies. That was the start of this 4-game stretch. And then they won again on the 31st against the Cubs, the start of the 3-game sweep. So that just barely got them from setting or establishing this record since 1903 of not winning back-to-back games in a month. So May was definitely a huge bummer, a major disappointment for the team, for the fans, for management, I'm sure. But it looks like maybe they're coming out of it. They've got this 4-game winning streak going, and hopefully they can continue that into the coming week. So let's take a look at their schedule. Let me pull it up here real quick. All right, they actually they stay home for a series with the Reds. Now they got the day off Monday, so starting Tuesday, they've got a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday series with the Reds. Then they go back to Chicago for 3, and then they're on kind of a lengthy road trip at the Cubs, at the Marlins, at the Mets for a 4-game series. So now you could argue 2 of those 3 teams are favorable matchups for the Cardinals. I would say the Marlins and the Mets. And really, the Cubs have been struggling too. And as you saw, we just swept them. Now, it wasn't exactly a dominating sweep. A couple of those games were very close. We had to walk off one of them. We only won by 1 today. Even the one where we won 7-4 was closer than that until much later. So, I don't think that series in Chicago is a gimme series, but we'll see. And as the Cardinals have shown, no series is a gimme series. But they are going into a favorable road stretch here. After the road series, they come back to play Miami again for 4 games. Then they play the Angels. That'll be the Albert Pujols coming home party. And then the A's. So those are all home games. And then they get a little bit, I don't know. They go on the road again. This is projecting, into July now. San Diego series, Seattle Mariners series, and the Giants series. So that's getting out there pretty far. But they actually have what seems to me to be some favorable matchups coming up. So hopefully they can kind of chip away at this lead that the Brewers and Cubs have ahead of them and, put some winning streaks together, get these guys going offensively, and have a hot summer, so to speak. I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to turn it around. It's been very frustrating. There's that word again. For the fans to watch this brand of baseball that they've been playing. It just seems like they can't ever put it together. When they have a decent offensive day, the pitching lets them down. When they have a good pitching day, there's no offense to back it up. The one thing I would say they haven't really had many problems with is defense. I feel like we haven't seen very many errors. I didn't look up any stats to back that statement up, but defensively, I feel like they've been playing pretty well. We did have, I think, Fowler dropped a ball in the outfield the other day, and we've had the occasional, booted ball, but really, defense has been much, much better this year. So that was very hard to watch the last few seasons, and led to a lot of losses. Now, you could argue, they haven't been playing bad defense and still been losing, so that's maybe more disappointing. They've been finding other ways to lose. But if they were doing it with sloppy play, it would have been a lot more difficult to take in and accept. So I think, playing solid defense, and as their pitching gets better, their starting pitching's definitely been a lot better the last few days. And the bullpen, too, has been much better. Hicks has looked a little shaky here and there, but overall the pitching's been much better. The offense is coming around a little bit enough to get these wins, but I think the offense is going to improve, and as the pitching and defense stay solid, I think they're going to go on a good run here. So we shall see how the month of June looks. I do want to point out, just on a personal note, on a localized note, my nephew's high school varsity baseball team is advancing to the super sectional, which will be played in Sauget, Illinois at the Gateway Grizzlies ballpark, and that is for the right to move on to state. So this is the furthest our high school. This is where my son played, and my daughter attends, and my wife and I went to the same school. So this is our hometown. It's the same baseball team, like I said, my son played for, and this is the furthest they've gotten since 2011 when that team went to state. So we're hoping good things for them tomorrow or Monday, whenever you're listening to this. They're playing on Monday, June 3rd at the Grizzlies ballpark at 4 o'clock. So if you're listening to this and you want to come out and support the Bulldogs on their effort to get to state. So they've been fun to watch. We got to watch a couple of games this weekend of that. So good time. So good luck to them. I want to thank everybody for listening. I appreciate it. Hopefully you're getting some good information out of this and kind of letting me vent to you when the team plays bad and letting me talk the team up when they're playing good. So as all of us BFIBs like to do. So all right, I appreciate it. As usual, I'm Jared, and this is the BFIBs Almanac.